Now I'd like to know, you got the notion that you shouldn't be watching the Comic Call with Dylan Lang. Hello, everybody, and welcome. It is Wednesday, August 20th, 2014, and this is the Comic Call with Dylan Lang. Sorry to freak everybody else out, but I'm sitting here drinking my White Lantern in honor of New Comic Book Day today. White Lantern. And no, it doesn't taste like Kyle, everybody out there. Anyway, I am Dylan the Lang. I am the Anti-Monitor, and we're going to be talking about the Dylanverse. The multiverse today, and a few other cool things as well. This is my usually weekly show where I showcase what comics I bought this week, since I'm a huge comic book nerd, geek, cool guy, whatever you want to call it. But this is it. I talk to you about what I bought, show you some art, talk a little bit about it, and try to convince you to, hey, go out there and get the same stuff I like, because I am the Dylan. Anyway, so that's what I'm here to do today. I also have another show that I usually do on Sundays called Dylan Knows. Every week is a different topic. However, due to some cool stuff happening on Sunday, my show's usually on Sundays, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, but due to something really cool happening this upcoming Sunday, I have moved my show to Saturday. It's Saturday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is a weird time, but that was a time when all my co-hosts can join it. It'll be Dylan Knows International. I'll be joined by Bronwyn, Brianne, and official Pagan Mike, I should say, will be on, and we've got quite an episode, which I'm not going to tell you much about because it's a secret what we're going to be doing, but it's going to be spectacular. It's going to make you take a look at me in a whole different light, so pretty cool. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about comics. This is... Oh, hold on a second. I got to do this for emphasis. This is the Comic Call. Not a lot today. That's okay. Sometimes you need to have these small weeks to make up for the ones where you're buying like $70 worth of comics. This one was around $50, but I know it's not a lot. But you take off some of the stuff that I got, and I got some for my daughter who hurt herself today, and she came with me, and she wanted to pick up some Teen Titans Go. And I actually read it today to her, and I actually loved it. So I've been talking about how comics are for everyone. They have all ages books. There's one right there, all ages, Teen Titans Go, based on the cartoon that's on, I believe, Cartoon Network. This issue was the newest one, came out today, but she bought the one from last month. But that's okay. Anywho. This is the Comic Call, and as always what I do is I start with DC, then I talk about Marvel, then I talk about Independence. Independence can be Image, IDW, Dynamite, Dark Horse, Boom Studios, whatever, Archie, stuff like that, Abstract. But I always do DC first, then Marvel, because I'm a DC guy first and foremost. I was a Marvel guy earlier on, but now I'm more of a DC guy, even though I am kind of disappointed the way things are going in DC. But that's besides the point. Anyway, let's get started now because I've already been talking your ear off for 3 minutes. So one more sip of White Lantern. And let's get moving. First up is probably the big book of the week from DC, and could be the biggest book of the week for any comic company. People have been looking forward to this for a while. It was announced years ago, and it is finally here. It is Multiversity #1. What is Multiversity, you may ask? Well, Grant Morrison, who is a fantastic writer. I first ran into Grant Morrison in his Animal Man run back in the 80s, which is a phenomenal story. If you can find the trades, read them. I think there's 3 or 4, I think maybe 4 trades. It's 1 to 26. It was a great storyline, great story arc. It's just absolutely wonderful. And I probably might play a little bit into this because Grant Morrison has always been kind of in love with the Crisis on Infinite Earths and multi-dimensions and the multiverse. Now I'm throwing a lot of words at you. Let's back up a little bit because you're going to need a little bit background on the multiverse. Now, DC's been around since the 40s. 30s, actually, 39, 38, Superman, Batman. Batman celebrating his 75th anniversary this year. Superman did his last year. So they've been around for a long time. Marvel came around in the 60s, so they're about 30 years, 20 years behind DC. So DC has quite a jump on them, and they did a bunch of stuff, leading up to the 60s. They were the main ones to do the 60s, and then in the 60s they were just sort of piddling along, and then Marvel comes in and totally changes the scope of the comic world, and DC had to play catch up, so they made some changes, but kept things going steadily till the 80s. Now, when the 80s happened, they were getting their butts regularly handed them by Marvel, and they had to sit there and think and say, we got to figure out a way that we can grab some of Marvel's press, And Marv Wolfman and George Perez came up with the idea of, why don't we destroy the DC universe and start over again? And DC was like, you know what, that's crazy enough to work. Hence the 12-issue miniseries Crisis on Infinite Earths, crossed over in pretty much all the old DC comic titles. And basically, it destroyed the DC universe and then recreated it in 1986, I believe, was when that was. They got a coup, and they got John Byrne, who at the time was one of the biggest comic guys out there, to do Superman and redo his origin. Frank Miller had just done his Batman Year One, so Batman had been revamped also. George Perez came on and took over Wonder Woman, revamped Wonder Woman for the New Age, and then the Justice League was revamped by James DeMatteis and Keith Giffen into the Bwahaha Justice League. The Flash was reintroduced by I know Greg LaRocque. No, Jackson Geist was the artist. Who was the original writer of it? I forget who. Mike Baron. Mike Baron was the original writer on the new Flash, which at that time was Wally West, since in Crisis, Barry Allen Flash died, as did Supergirl. And so DC became more of a cohesive universe, because at the time, leading up to Crisis on Infinite Earths, there were infinite dimensions where there was different types of superheroes. There was, the Justice Society was on their own universe, and the regular DC universe was in their own universe, and all these other, the stories in the 50s and 60s had the superheroes crossing over into all these different dimensions, stuff like that. So they needed to clean that up, so they destroyed all those and made one linear DC universe, making the Justice Society the heroes in the 40s, and then these new guys coming in the 80s, stuff like that. So did that. But gradually, things seem to be working pretty good for a while, but then Jeff Johns comes on board. Now, Jeff Johns, pretty good writer. He grew up during the Crisis era, but he preferred the Silver Age, which was the 70s style comics. And he wanted to kind of return to that. So he created what he called Infinite Crisis, where they reintroduced the multiverse, but made it 52 individual universes. At that time, DC was also doing some Elseworlds where they were doing Batman like as a vampire, or Batman in the time of Jack the Ripper, or what if Superman was in Russia, or stuff like that. So all these books took place in other dimensions. So Jeff Johns took those Elseworlds and made them other dimensions, and they had 52 multiple Earths. And it's sort of been hanging around, but nothing's really been done about it. Grant Morrison said he was interested in writing about it, and what you have, that's a long-winded 5-minute speech about it, but what you have is Multiversity is the first issue of that. And you gotta love this cover. Is Captain Carrot, who's fantastic. The African-American Superman, who I think was in his run of Action Comics. So, it looks like a devil, Green Lantern, and a female Shazam. So, or Captain Marvel, I should say. So, Multiversity is going to be drawn by a bunch of different people. Issue 1 is drawn by Ivan Reyes and inked by Joe Prado, and it's going to be one of these crazy. Grant Morrison has probably got one of these absolutely crazy ideas, story ideas. Here's some of the artwork, and it's going to be a crazy story, and it's probably going to blow your mind away. But it's gorgeous artwork by Ivan Reyes. He's just doing this issue. I think Frank Quitely's got an issue. I think Chris Sprouse might be doing some stuff as well. So I haven't read it yet, so I'm assuming there's probably some sort of disaster heading towards the multiverse, and this African-American Superman is going to be jumping into all the different multiverses that are out there and are going to try to save the day. So should be an interesting read. Grant Morrison does enough that he'll blow your mind away, i.e. his Animal Man stories and his Doom Patrol stories. And then he did a pretty good run on Justice League, and then an interesting run on Batman. Though I wasn't a big fan of his run on Batman, but he still did some interesting things with that. So now Grant Morrison is starting what he has been leading to for the longest time. It's Multiversity #1. That's probably the book of the week, and I talked enough about that. Let's move on to the next one. I don't know much about this book, so I don't know if this is just a one-shot or if it's going to continue or whatever, but it's a Sensation Comics #1 featuring Wonder Woman. Gotta love the cover with Wonder Woman taking on Batman's villains, Joker, Harley Quinn, Two-Face, and the Penguin. And then you can't beat Gail Simone writing it with art by Ethan Van Sciver. And then there's a secondary story written by Amanda Diebert with art by Kat Staggs, which is actually pretty nice looking stuff. So here's the Amanda Diebert Kat Staggs stuff, and it looks like modern. This looks like New 52 Wonder Woman. Ethan Van Sciver. Old, oh, come on, don't freeze on me now. Old DC Universe Wonder Woman taking on Batman's villains. It looks good. I don't really know. As I said, I don't know if it's a regular series. It's going to be like a different person on it. I really probably should get back into reading previews again so I know what's actually going on. Because getting back to Multiversity, I was leafing through it, and I saw this, and I'm not sure if it's issue 2 or if it's a different one-shot, Society of Superheroes, drawn by Chris Sprouse, or if they're all individual one-shots. I'm not sure. I need to read up probably on that. I should probably pick up previews to figure out what's going on. But we'll see. So those are the two #1s this week. You love Wonder Woman, and you don't want to get bogged down on trying to figure out what's going on in the regular series you haven't been following in a while. Pick up Sensation Comics #1. It's 2 self-contained stories. That's all you need to know. Next up, as I've been saying, if you've been watching the show every week, DC's got some weekly books. They've got 2 now. A third one will be coming up really soon. So the newest issue of Future's End is here. It's number 16. Pretty interesting cover. Once again, these are covers by Ryan Sook. Looks like there's a bunch of Brainiacs, so it's a Brainiac thing. Once again, the weekly books are written by a committee of writers. This one's Brian Azzarello, Keith Giffen, Dan Jurgens, Jeff Lemire. This week's issue is drawn by Jesus Marino and Dan Green. It's got Batman Beyond, it's got Hawkman, it's got Frankenstein, it's got Amethyst, it's got Red Robin, it's got a new style of Superman, who we don't know if it's Clark Kent or if it's someone completely different. We're not sure. It's got Deathstroke, Terminator, and it's got Mr. Terrific as the bad guy. So it's pretty interesting. So check that out. There's also an ad about the upcoming Future's End 41 one-shot titles coming in September, which is basically going to cover all the DC always does something special for September, which was back in 2011 when they restarted the DC universe again. So it's going to be based on the Future's End storyline, so you're going to maybe want to get caught up on that. Most stores probably have all issues available still. I know mine does, and there are other ones I know that might have it as well. So if you haven't started reading it yet, check it out. It's pretty interesting. It's going to play a big role in the future of DC Comics. It's going to conclude, I think, next year. Something big is going to happen next year. I think all this is going to get connected to Multiversity, Batman Eternal, which is another one of the weekly ones, the Earth 2 weekly one, which is coming up soon, and this one, Future's End. They're somehow all combined to make one big, huge thing. A lot of people are thinking it might be a second Crisis, so we'll see. Speaking of Batman Eternal number 20, continuing the Batman's weekly adventures. Pretty interesting cover with Batgirl, James Gordon, and Batman. This team of writers is Scott Snyder, James Tynion IV, Ray Fawkes, John Layman, Tim Seeley, and the artwork this week is by Emmanuel Simeone. I think he did it last week also. So it's got Batman, it's got his family in it, there's Batgirl, it's got his villains in it, Killer Croc, and it's a major storyline that's running through Batman right now. and it's going to have a big deal. It also is a lot of supernatural-esque stuff to it, and there is a Batman Supernatural book coming up very shortly, which is spinning out of this. I think Ray Fawkes is writing it, and I'm actually really excited about that because they've really been upping the quota on supernatural stuff in Gotham, and that just is interesting. No offense to Scott Snyder, I like your run on Batman. I don't necessarily love it. I thought you start off on a really back before the New 52. You did a fantastic job with Detective Comics, and then the first story arc in the New 52 Batman was excellent with the Court of Owls. But your Joker storyline sort of lost you a little bit, and then your Year Zero, which was a full year worth of stuff, sort of lost me as well. Though Greg Capullo's artwork is still fantastic. No offense to you. No offense to Brian Buccellato and Francis Manapul, who are doing Detective Comics, but this is the best Batman book on the stands right now, Batman and Robin, number 34. Written by Peter Tomasi with art by Patrick Gleason and Mick Gray. And it's in the middle of their Robin Rises storyline, so I'm not sure if that means that Damian's going to be coming back and he's going to have a Robin. But basically the premise of this story is Batman is going to journey to Apocalypse, which is where the parademons have taken the body of Damian. I haven't read the Robin Rises story yet, so I'm not exactly sure the reason why they're doing it. Maybe it's to unlock the anti-life equation in him. I don't know. But Batman Robin is consistently one of the best Batman books out there. Highly recommend that you go pick this up, pick up the trades, and read all that stuff up there, and pick up the comics, and it is just phenomenal. Peter Tomasi is doing a great job, and Patrick Gleason's artwork is fantastic. This one's got all of Batman's family in it. There's Dick, and then over here we got Batgirl and Red Robin and Red Hood and Batman. And it also has an appearance by the New Style Justice League with Lex Luthor, Captain Marvel / Shazam, Wonder Woman. Pretty cool picture of Batman and Lex. And here is Apocalypse. So we're going to see what's going to happen with that, which is interesting since the 5 years later storyline is coming up. The Future's End one-shot is coming up, and I don't know if it's going to break the story, the way the story is rolling, or if they're going to conclude the Robin Rises story in another book or whatever. Again, I should probably pick up previews to find all this out, but my job right now is just to show you what came out this week, what I bought, and what you should go check out and take a look for. As I said, these aren't all the books that came out. These are just the ones I collected. There's a ton of books that came out this week, so check them out yourselves. Next up is a book I usually don't collect, though I should because I've heard really good things about it, especially recently. But it is part of the Superman Doom storyline I've been following. So this is Supergirl number 34. So if you didn't know, if you've been following the Superman Doom story and you don't normally follow Supergirl, pick up Supergirl 34. It is part of the Superman Doom storyline. Supergirl has been always one of these interesting characters, trying to figure out what's actually going on with her. Tony Bedard has been writing her for a while and does pretty good with the outer space stuff. Carl Moline is the artist, and I think Jose Marzan Jr. is the inker. Oh wow, yeah, Supergirl's getting some. Woohoo! I've heard good things about Supergirl. She's been going through her Red Lantern storyline. I think I might want to pick that up in a couple weeks when Baltimore Comic-Con is, which I'll talk about at the end of the show. So I might pick up some of those books and maybe try to get caught up with Supergirl because it's always fascinating me, her character. And it's good to see her in there. Speaking of White Lantern, Green Lantern New Guardians number 34 is the last DC book I've got today, following the adventures of Kyle Rayner, the White Lantern. Josh Jordan, good guy. Brad Walker, good artist. It's just I've read the other Green Lantern stories and I haven't read these yet, so I really can't make a determination yet. But I've read the other ones, the Green Lantern Corps, which are written by the new crew, and Red Lanterns, and they're all really, really good. this just looks weak to me a little bit. Kyle was always my Green Lantern, and I really liked him. But turning him to a White Lantern and having him sort of hook up with Star Sapphire, which Carol Ferris, which personally I believe she belongs with Hal, but I'm not the writer, and it just seems to me like they're trying to do a love triangle thing going on, whatever. But as I said, I haven't read it, so I really can't say much about it. And I always thought also that New Guardians were going to focus on all the different Green Lantern corps the different corps out there: the red, the blue, the indigo, the violet, yellow. Yeah, I know Red Lanterns have their own book. I know Sinestro has his own book, but you can still bring those characters in. And I know the Blue Lanterns no longer exist, but you know what? You might want to bring them back as well, or figure out a way to do it, or whatever. You might want to focus. Kyle's good because I've always liked Kyle. As I say, Kyle's my Green Lantern, but he's the White Lantern now, and it's just I don't know, just something about it. It's rubbed me the wrong way. As I said, I haven't read it yet. Now, to be fair, Josh Jordan is a good guy. I've seen him talk. I haven't talked to him, but I've seen him before. I've seen him on Twitter, and he seems like a nice enough guy. I saw his interview with the Comicosity Hangout ladies, and he seems like a genuinely cool guy. I have to I'll have to read it and I'll let you know better. But I'm still collecting it because it's Kyle and it's a Green Lantern book, and I like the Green Lantern books. Now, what's interesting about it is that we've got the big New Gods crossover coming in after the 5 years later, and this sort of maybe sets that up pretty good with the Mother Box. So it might be a big book you might want to check out, and hopefully maybe things will clear up a little bit with that. So White Lantern, Green Lantern, New Guardians is out today. That's it for DC. I got some Marvel, and I've only got a couple of independents. So first up, I love what Marvel's been doing lately. Kind of. I don't like the idea of them restarting over and over and over again, having all these number ones, releasing all these number ones with all these different characters that you look at him at first glance, like, why does he deserve his own series? I don't get it. But in some cases, it's worked out pretty good. In some cases, it hasn't. But it depends on the creative team. It depends on stuff like that. Well, this one, I read the first issue. Love the first issue. So I'm eagerly waiting to read the second issue, Storm number 2. Storm number 1 was fantastic. Greg Pak is the writer. He's doing a great job writing it, and Victor Ibanez is the artist. We've got Storm dancing with Wolvie, and making out too. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, Storm. And then what I liked about the original series the first issue was there were 2 different storylines going on. One was a real-world storyline, and one was a X-Men storyline, and they were cohesive. They connected in an interesting way, but it was still entertaining, and you didn't need to know what was going on. The X-Men know what was going on. So I'm hoping Storm number 2 is the same way. It looks like she's going to be taking on Callisto, which is always interesting. Battle between them. But Storm number 2 is fantastic. Storm number 1 was fantastic. I can't wait to read Storm number 2. Their mutant ones are doing pretty good. Nightcrawler is really, really good. Not such a big fan of Cyclops. I only got the first issue, so it's Greg Rucka, but still Cyclops as young Cyclops. I don't know. And another one I'll talk about in a minute or two is really doing really good too. But we're going to go into something else right now. A book that's surprising me that I like, Elektra number 5. Great cover, great artwork by Del Mundo. H.W. Hayden Blackman is the writer. Michael Del Mundo is the artist. It's a very watercolory, painterly type of book. Very, very interesting. And the storyline has been good so far, what I've read of it. So I've never really been a huge Elektra fan, but so far they've been winning me over with this book. So Elektra number 5 is out today as well. 6 minutes. I might be able to cut. Maybe I'll finish it. No, I'll go over a little bit. Daredevil number 7. Mark Waid, Javier Rodriguez. Yes, Javier Rodriguez, artist Alvaro Lopez, inker. It's a original Sin crossover. Daredevil, Mark Waid Daredevil has been phenomenal. The artwork has been really, really good as well. Looks like we've got an appearance by Black Panther, female Black Panther. Looks like I haven't been following the book, so I don't know if she is the new Black Panther. Probably, since she's got the outfit and the stuff going on. So he's in Wakanda, apparently, in this. So the original Sin crossover, as I said, I haven't read that yet, so I don't know if the original Sin storylines, if you need to read the original book, the miniseries is based on, but you know, I'm collecting it because I collect Daredevil, so I want to keep my collection intact. So Daredevil number 7 is out today. Another great female book. So right now we've got Storm. We had Elektra. Last week we had Captain Marvel. There was the Sensation Wonder Woman book this week. There's Supergirl this week. So if you like female superheroes, and there's been a lot of talk about that, a lot of buzz about female superheroes. She-Hulk came out a couple weeks ago. You're in heaven right now because right now, as I said, we had Sensation Comics with Wonder Woman. We've got Supergirl out this week. We have Storm out this week. We've got Elektra out this week. We've got Miss Marvel out this week also. Miss Marvel is a very interesting book for those who don't know what's going on. It's written by a woman by the name of G. Willow Wilson. Artwork is by Jacob Wyatt. But G. Willow Wilson is a Middle Eastern woman. This new Miss Marvel is a Middle Eastern character. And so you're getting a different take on the superhero genre. In this, we've got Wolverine teaming up with her, and it's kind of a cartoony, teenage drama type of thing. But it's a good book. My wife reads Miss Marvel. She loves Miss Marvel, up there with Captain Marvel as some of her favorites. So I really need to get caught up on that as well. I need to get caught up on a lot of comics. I haven't read a lot of them, but one day I will get them all read, and it'll be good. Now I was talking about mutant books, Nightcrawler, Storm. There's Cyclops out there. There's another one that surprised me a lot. Magneto number 8. Magneto's written by Cullen Bunn. Artwork is by Javier Fernandez. It's nice artwork. It's unlike any Magneto you've seen before. It's Magneto as more of an anti-hero and not really as a villain. He's on a quest to stop the killings of mutants by regular people, and he'll do it in any means necessary to stop them. He's being hunted down for it as well, but there are other people who do not take kindly to it. Nice artwork, good story. Cullen Bunn knows how to write his villains. I mean, he writes Sinestro for DC. He's going to write the Lobo book, which I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Lobo, but I'm a big fan of Cullen Bunn, so we'll see. That's it for Marvel. I got 2 minutes. I'll probably go a little bit over because I only have 2 independent books. Both independent books are from Image this week. Not a lot of stuff out there. IDW has an interesting one, Little Nemo in Slumberland, which is a comic from a cartoon from the, I think it was a newspaper cartoon from the 20s. Very intricately drawn, beautiful artwork. Eric Schenauer, I think, is doing the artwork for that. That first issue came out. I just didn't have the money this week. I didn't even take a look at it. So if you're interested in something a little bit different than your usual superhero stuff, and you remember Little Nemo in Slumberland, you might want to check that out. But Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips have been writing comic noir for a long time. I'm a horrible geek. I think it's Criminal. No, Fatale. That's right, Fatale. Fatale was their last collaboration. They also did Sleeper and Criminal for DC, but Fatale was one of those. It just ended. So Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, they enjoyed working together so much, and they like the genre of comic noir that they've created. The Fade Out #1. So if you're looking for something that's not regular comic related, superhero related, you want to find something different out there in comic land, Fade Out. Ed Brubaker is a great writer. Sean Phillips is a great artist. And it's a noir book. So it's going to be, you know, it takes place in it looks like it takes place in the 30s, maybe the 30s, 40s, or 50s. No, 1948. Okay. It seems to be following, cast of characters. It looks like it's like an old style noir film that takes place in Hollywood. Characters are a screenwriter, movie star, up-and-coming starlet, one-time writer, publicity girl, and a studio head of security. So it's going to be like a Hollywood look at Hollywood in the 1940s and 50s in a very noir-esque way. Sean Phillips, and it's also going to be, it's for grown-ups because I can't show you this picture right here, but it is for grown-ups. It's not for kids. And great artwork by Sean Phillips. There's going to be sex, there's going to be death, there's going to be murder, there's going to be nightmares, there's going to be adult situations, there's going to be racism, just all kinds of crazy stuff that happened in Hollywood in the 40s and 50s. And the fade out, I missed the boat on Fatale, and I might have to pick up some of the trades on those. And I missed Criminal and Sleeper, so I want to get those. I want to get on the ground floor on this. I'm recommending Fade Out #1. Hopefully your comic store will still have it. If you want something different than regular superhero comics, you get the Fade Out. You'll like that. Real quick, the last couple of weeks I've been totally fawning over books and going off on how great certain books are. Last week it was Astro City, which is still a fantastic book. Pick it up. Go get the trades. The week before, or a couple weeks ago, I was talking about Angry Birds being a great all-ages comic for adults and kids because it's funny. It's got some adult humor in it that the kids might not get. It's really well done. I'm going to go off just again real quick. I've gone off on this book before, and I'm going to do it again. Manifest Destiny #9. Amazing book. It's one of these, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. It's one of these story ideas that I always bang my head and said, why didn't I think of that? It's right up my alley. The premise is Lewis and Clark, the guys from history, who went and explored out west before we had settled out there, with Sacagawea and all that. And they went all the way to California, and did all that. And just, it was the first time anyone had ever seen any English European Americans had seen any of that stuff. They run into Indians, animal species they'd never seen before. And so they wrote journals, and they've been made into books. You can buy them at the bookstores if you want to see the actual journals of their descriptions of like Yellowstone and Yosemite and stuff like that. You can go see it there. So they take the premise of Lewis and Clark going and exploring the great unknown out west before it was settled. And while they're going out west, they actually discover that there are supernatural creatures out there. There have been giant frogs with multiple eyes and killer tongues. There have been plant creatures, human plant creature things. And there's been what can only be described as a minotaur, but instead it was a buffalo instead of a bull human hybrid. So it's fantastic story, awesome artwork. Awesome artwork. Chris Dingus is the writer. Matthew Roberts is the artist. The artwork is just amazing. Here's the giant frog thing. I mean, it's horror, but it's gorgeous. And then you've got just regular people, just the backgrounds, the features of the people. The artwork is a key to this, and the story is just amazing. It's just an amazing story idea. And I wish I would have come up with it. It's a great story. It's a fantastic story. I highly recommend everybody check out Manifest Destiny. The first 6 issues have come out in trade. And then 7, 8, and 9, as you see 9 came out this week, 7, 8, 9 should still be available in your comic stores maybe. Go pick up Manifest Destiny. You will not be disappointed. Artwork is great. Storyline is fantastic. So, that is my comic haul for this week. Ta-da! Ta-da! A lot of good books for if you're into female superheroes. If you want to get your mind blown, Multiversity is good. If you want to try something different, Manifest Destiny. Just real quick, a few notes real quick. One, in 2 weeks, I believe it's 2 weeks, yes, 2 weeks will be the Baltimore Comic-Con. So if you want to come to one of the best comic conventions in the country, it's run by the guy who owns my local comic store up the street where I bought these very books today. He's been doing it since at least 2001, so we're looking at close to 14 years he's been doing this. And it is a pure comic convention. There is no San Diego style stuff. It's all comic books. There's comic book dealers, there's costume contests, and there's lots and lots of writers and artists. Now, the writers and artists are the big guys, popular ones, the ones who are huge now, that everybody loves. They come to Baltimore Comic-Con because, first of all, a lot of them are East Coasters, so it's close by for them. Second, it's more comic-oriented. And third, they've done this for years. They've loved the hospitality they've gotten. They love the interacting with the fans. They loved how the guy who created it treats them, and they love everything about it. So come on down to the Baltimore Baltimore Convention Center. I believe it's, let me see, September 1st is a Monday, so that would be the 5th, 6th, and 7th. It starts for the first time. It's going to be 3 days. It usually was just Saturday and Sunday, but they've added Friday to it. So Friday the 5th, Saturday the 6th, and Sunday the 7th is the Baltimore Comic-Con. So come on down to Baltimore if you're nearby. Check it out. It's well worth it. You'll find some great deals. You'll find lots of writers and artists you'll be able to talk to in a really nice atmosphere. It's right in the middle of the Inner Harbor, so if you get bored, you can go down to Harbor Place. You can go maybe catch an Orioles or Ravens game. I think the Ravens are opening the season on Sunday, so that'll be interesting to see that. It's well worth it. I should be going this year. I don't know exactly if I am or not, but I'm definitely going to try because there's a lot of people I want to meet down there that are going to be going to it as well. So definitely check out the Baltimore Comic-Con. It's well worth it if you're just into comics and you don't want to be overwhelmed by like the San Diegos and the Chicagos and stuff like that, which is more of a pop culture convention now. This is pure, straight-up comic books. Come get your books signed if you want. Come get commissions if you want. Come talk to the writers and artists. They'll gladly talk to you for a while. Find some good deals from the dealers. And wear a costume if you want to. We have costume contests that win money, I think. So check it out. So, anything else? Nope, just go to your local comic store. If you like the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I saw this past weekend, loved it. If you like any of the other comic movies that have come out this year, X-Men Days of Future Past, Amazing Spider-Man, Captain America. If you're interested, you're excited for the Superman-Batman movie coming up in a couple of years. If you just, or if you haven't been in a comic store in a while and have always loved comics and stuff like that, just check out your local comic store. Go to Comic Shop Locator Service. Type in your zip code. You will see all the comic shops within a 30-mile radius of you. Try to find one that you like. Maybe you find one down the street like I was lucky enough to. If not, there's at least 2 or 3 other ones I could tell you about right now, which I could go to if I really needed to. They're a little bit further out of my way, but they're still there, and I still get my comic fix. So, go to comic book stores. Just go in. Just take a look around. You might find stuff you like. Not all comic stores are the same. My comic book store has comic books, but it also has trade paperbacks. It's got toys. It's got posters. It's got baseball cards. It's got gaming stuff. It's got T-shirts. It's got stuffed animals. It's got toys. It's got Funkos. It's got action figures. It's got back issues galore. It's also got, if you are trying to catch up on some stuff or missed the last couple months worth of stuff, they keep upwards of 2 to 3 months worth of their stuff of old books up on their shelf before they go into the back issue bins. They have great deals every weekend. My comic shop has great deals every weekend. Saturday and Sunday, they might do 50% off trade paperbacks. They might do 50% off baseball cards, whatever. They do something different every week. They sometimes get artists and writers to come in and sign stuff. As I said, comics are for everyone. As you saw, a bunch of, if you like female superheroes, we've got plenty of those coming out. If you want some mind-bending stuff, multiversity. If you want something a little bit different, the last call, hold on. The Fade Out, excuse me. The Fade Out and there's a whole bunch of us. All ages stuff. I got my daughter Teen Titans Go. She loved that. Angry Birds is another good one. You know, get caught up on some trades. You know, find stuff if you've been a lapsed comic book fan. Go to your comic book store, pick up the trades that you're missing. Try to get back into comics. Pick up any number ones. We had a bunch of number ones here. Go pick some of those up. Pick up the trade and then pick up the coincidental issues like Sex Criminals, which came out last week. The 5-issue trade came out. 6 and 7 are out now. Go ahead and buy them. You'll be caught up in no time. Manifest Destiny. First 6-issue trade came out not too long ago. 7, 8, 9 still might be out there. 9 just came out this week. You never know. Every store is different, but every store, just go in at least check it out and have fun. Read comics. Comics are for everyone. Have a pleasant week, and I will see you hopefully next week for more The Comic Call. Goodbye.